Hi students, welcome you all to the second session where we are going to discuss about the second part of the story, The Tiger King. But before that, it's time for recapitulation of the first part. So let's have a quick recap of the first part. The Maharaja Sir Jilani Jangjang Bahadur was called the Tiger King. When he was just 10 days old, he asked intelligent questions to the astrologers and was told that he would be killed by a tiger. He uttered, "Let tigers beware." No other miracle took place. The child grew like any other royal child, drinking white cow's milk. He was taught by an English tutor and looked after by an English nanny. He watched English films, and when he was 20, he was crowned as a king. It was then the prediction of his death by the tiger reached the Maharaja's ears, and he, in turn to safeguard himself, killed the tiger, and being thrilled, he told the astrologer, who replied that he can kill 99 tigers but should be careful with the 100th. So he pledged that all other affairs of the state would be attended after killing the 100 tigers. Then he started killing tigers. None except Maharaja was allowed to hunt tigers. So once a high-ranking British officer visited the state, who was fond of hunting tigers, and his wish was declined. So the officer requested for getting a photograph with a tiger killed by Maharaja at least. But this request was also rejected by this Maharaja. So to please the officer's wife, he sent 50 diamond rings, expecting that she would take one or two and return back the rest. But instead she kept all the rings costing 3 lakh rupees and said thanks to the Maharaja. But his state was secured. So let's see what happens in the fourth and fifth part of this story. Part 4. The Maharaja's tiger hunts continued to be highly successful. Within 10 years, he was able to kill 70 tigers, and then an unforeseen hurdle brought his mission to a standstill. So here unforeseen is accidental, unplanned, and hurdle is a problem. Standstill is it came to a stop. The tiger population became extinct in the forest. Extinct is no living members of the tigers of Pratibandhapuram. Who knows whether the tigers practiced birth control or committed harakiri. Harakiri is nothing but it's a ritual of suicide which was practiced in Japan. Or simply ran away from the state because they desired to be shot by British hands alone. So here what happened is the king was very successful in his tiger hunting mission. So in a span of 10 years, he had already killed 70 tigers. And an unplanned problem stopped his mission. That is, what was the problem? The problem was that there were no more tigers in Pratibandhapuram. So he was not able to kill anyone. So the writer creates humor when he says that maybe the tigers practiced birth control activities and did not produce offsprings, or maybe they committed suicide. Or he also adds that it could be that they ran away from Pratibandhapuram because they did not want to be killed by an Indian king, and on the other hand they wanted to be killed by a Britisher. So this is on a humorical part the writer has written so. One day the Maharaja sent for the Diwan. Diwan Sahib, aren't you aware of the fact that 30 tigers still remain to be shot down by this gun of mine? He asked, brandishing his gun. So here brandishing is waving as a threat or in anger or excitement. Shuddering at the sight of the gun, shuddering is nothing but trembling with fear. The Diwan cried out, "Your Majesty, I am not a tiger. Which idiot would call you a tiger? No, and I am not a gun. You are neither tiger nor gun. Diwan Sahib, I summoned you here for a different purpose. I have decided to get married." So summoned is to call here. So what happened is one day the king called his minister and waved his gun towards him. He said that he was yet to kill 30 more tigers. So the minister was really scared when he saw the gun, and he cried to the king that he is not a tiger, and he feared that the king might aim his gun at him. Because as soon as he saw the gun in his hand, he got scared. And the king said that he was not foolish, that he would mistake the minister for a tiger. And then the minister was so scared that he added that he was neither a gun. He was just blabbering something. So the king said to him that he knew that he was neither a tiger nor a gun, but on the other hand, that he had called his minister for some other work. That is, actually the king wanted to get married, and he wanted to tell that to him. So the divan began to babble even more. Babble is again to talk something in a confused or a silly way. Your Majesty, I have 2 wives already. If I marry you, don't talk nonsense. Why should I marry you? What I want is a tiger. Your Majesty, please think it over. Your ancestors were married to a sword. If you like, marry the gun. A tiger king is more than enough for this state. It doesn't need a tiger queen as well. So here what happened is, the minister was so confused that he started speaking something in a silly way. He said that the king already had 2 wives, and if the minister married the king interrupted the minister and he scolded him for speaking nonsense. Then he said that he had no reason to marry the the minister, and he did not want to marry the minister. He said that he wanted a tiger. So the writer again creates humor when he says that the minister told the king that he should think over his decision. The minister adds that the king's ancestors were married to the sword, and so if he wanted, he could marry the gun. But marrying a tiger and getting a tiger queen for the kingdom of Prathibandapuram was not a good thought. So he added that a tiger king was enough for the state, and they did not want a tiger queen, but actually the king had asked the minister to find a queen from a state where there are lot of tigers to be shot down. The Maharaja gave a loud crack of laughter. I am not thinking of marrying either a tiger or a gun, but a girl from the ranks of human beings. First, you may draw up statistics of tiger populations in the different native states. Next, you may investigate if there is a girl I can marry in the royal family of a state with a large tiger population. So, here investigate is to find out. So, this was very hilarious, and the Maharaja started laughing as this minister was talking foolishly. He started laughing and he said that he did not want to marry either a tiger or a gun, but he wanted to marry a girl from another kingdom. That is what I said. He asked his minister to make a list of all the kingdoms and the number of tigers they had. And next, the minister was to find out if there was a girl worth marrying in the royal family of a state which had large number of tigers. So what happened next is the Diwan followed his orders. He found a right girl from a state which possessed large number of tigers. So Maharaja Jangjang Bahadur killed 5 or 6 tigers each time he visited his father-in-law. In this manner, 99 tiger skins adorned the walls of the reception hall in the Prathibandapuram palace. So here adorned is decorated. So the minister immediately followed the orders issued by the king, and he found the right girl from a state which had a large number of tigers. So every time when the king Jangjang Bahadur visited his father-in-law, he would kill 5 or 6 tigers in the kingdom. So in this way, the king killed 99 tigers, and the skins of the tigers were were used to decorate the walls of the lobby hall of the Prathibandapuram palace. Part 5. The Maharaja's anxiety reached a fever pitch when there remained just 1 tiger to achieve his tally of 100. So fever pitch is actually extreme. Anxiety is curiosity. Tally is the total. So what happened is, as the Maharaja had already killed 99 tigers, he was to kill just 1 more to complete his total of 100 tigers, and he became very anxious and curious to kill the 100th tiger. He had this one thought during the day and the same dream at night. By this time, the tiger farms had run dry even in his father-in-law's kingdom. It became impossible to locate tigers anywhere. Yet only one more was needed. If he could kill just that one single beast, the Maharaja would have no fears left. He could give up tiger hunting altogether. So what happened is, all through this day and night, he kept on dreaming of killing the 100th tiger, and the tiger population even in his father-in-law's kingdom had also finished. So he could not find a single tiger anywhere. The king was very desperate for one single tiger that he could hunt, after which he could even give up hunting, as he would not fear tigers any longer, because once he kills 100 tigers, he is away from danger. But he had to be extremely careful with that last tiger. What had the late chief astrologer said? Even after killing 99 tigers, the Maharaja should beware of the 100th. True enough, the tiger was a savage beast after all. One had to be wary of it. But where was that 100th tiger to be found? It seemed easier to find tiger's milk than a live tiger. So here savage is uncontrolled, and wary is to be cautious. So he was reminded of the late astrologer's words that he was supposed to be very careful with the 100th tiger that he hunted, and the king agreed that tigers were uncontrolled animals, and so he had to be cautious of it. But he was not able to find the 100th tiger that he could kill. And the writer again, he creates one humorous humor by saying that it was easier to find tiger's milk in the kingdom rather than an alive tiger. Thus the Maharaja was sunk in gloom, but soon came the happy news which dispelled that gloom. So what happened? In his own state, sheep began to disappear frequently from a hillside village. It was first ascertained that this was not the work of Khadir Mian Sahib or Veerasamy Naikar, both famed for their ability to swallow sheep whole. Surely a tiger was at work. The villagers ran to inform the Maharaja. The Maharaja announced a 3-year exemption from all taxes from that village and set out on the hunt at once. So here gloom is actually sadness and dispelled is removed. Exemption is freedom. So what happened is, this made the king very sad because he was not able to find any tiger. So his sadness came to an end when he got the news that in a hillside village, sheep were disappearing very fast. There were 2 people in the kingdom, that is Khadir Mian Sahib and Veerasamy Naikar, who could even swallow the whole sheep. But as this was not their job, so it was calculated that there was a tiger who is at work behind. So the villagers were very excited and they informed the king about it. And Maharaja was also so happy that he exempted the villagers from all the taxes for 3 years and set out to hunt this tiger when as soon as he got this happy news. The tiger was not easily found. It seemed as if it had wantonly hid itself in order to flout the Maharaja's will. So, wantonly is carelessly and flout is to go against something or someone. The Maharaja was equally determined. He refused to leave the forest until the tiger was found. As the days passed, the Maharaja's fury and obstinacy mounted alarmingly. Many officers lost their jobs. So here fury is angry, obstinacy is nothing but firmness, and mounted is increased. So what happened here is, the king could not locate the tiger easily, and it seemed as if the tiger had hidden itself somewhere in order to go against the king's desire of killing the tiger. It seemed like that. But the king was very determined and he did not leave the forest until he could find the tiger. With the passing days, he became very angry and was firm, determined to kill the tiger. And in his anger, he removed many officers from his kingdom. One day when his rage was at its height, The Maharaja called the Diwan and ordered him to double the land tax forthwith. The people will become discontented. Then our state too will fall a prey to the Indian National Congress. So rage is anger and discontented is to be unhappy. So what happened is, one day in his fury, first he removed all the taxes for 3 years. But in this anger, what did he do? He told them to increase the land tax to double. And he felt that by doing this, the people would become unhappy and his kingdom would become a part of the Indian National Congress. In that case, you may resign from your post, said the king. The Diwan went home convinced that if the Maharaja did not find the tiger soon, the results could be catastrophic. He felt life returning to him only when he saw the tiger which had been brought from the People's Park in Madras and kept hidden in his house. So catastrophic is nothing but causing some suffering or damage, great damage. So what happened is, by doing so, the minister would also resign from his post. And this was the king's way of threatening the minister. So the minister realized that the king was very angry and he thought that if the tiger was not found soon, it could lead to destruction. So what happened? The minister found that the tiger that had been brought from the People's Park in Madras was hidden in his house. He felt relieved. At midnight, when the town slept in peace, the Diwan and his aged wife dragged the tiger to the car and shoved it into the seat. The Diwan himself drove the car straight to the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. When they reached the forest, the tiger launched its satyagraha and refused to get out of the car. The Diwan was thoroughly exhausted in his efforts to haul the beast out of the car and push it down to the ground. So what happened is, howl is to drag or to pull with some force. So the Maharaja along with his wife pulled the tiger into his car and drove the car to the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. The tiger did not come out of the car and the minister had a tough time pushing the tiger out of the car into the forest. On the following day, the same old tiger wandered into the Maharaja's presence and stood as if in humble supplication. Master, what do you command of me? It was with boundless joy that the Maharaja took careful aim at the beast. The tiger fell in a crumpled heap. So supplication is pray. So what happened? The next day, the same tiger, what did it do? It came. It was spotted by the Maharaja. He was very happy to see the 100th tiger and he aimed at the tiger to shot it down. So the tiger fell down as if it had been shot dead by the king. But he was overjoyed to have killed the 100th tiger and had fulfilled his vow. So he was very happy, but actually the tiger didn't fall down and it was not shot by the king also. I have killed the 100th tiger. My vow has been fulfilled. The Maharaja was overcome with elation. Elation is joy. Ordering the tiger to be brought to the capital in grand procession, the Maharaja hastened away in his car. So procession is parade. So the king was so happy that he has killed the 100th tiger. So he ordered the tiger should be brought to the capital in a grand procession and went away in his car. But what happened? Let's see. Afterwards, what happened? Let's see. After the Maharaja left, the hunters went to take a closer look at the tiger. The tiger looked back at them, rolling its eyes in bafflement. Bafflement is confusion. The men realized that the tiger was not dead, but the bullet had missed it. It had fainted from the shock of the bullet whizzing past. The hunters wondered what they should do. They decided that the Maharaja must not come to know that he had missed at his target. If he did, they could lose their jobs. So one of the hunters took aim from a distance of 1 foot and shot the tiger. This time he killed it without missing his mark. So what happened is, after the king had left, the hunters took a close look at the tiger and they saw that it was not dead and it was alive. And he realized that the king's bullet had missed the tiger and the tiger had fainted due to that shock as the bullet had passed close to it. So the hunters were confused and didn't know what to do and they were scared that if the king comes to know about this, they might lose their jobs. So what did they do is, one of the hunters, they aimed at the tiger and shot it dead. And this time the tiger was dead. Then, as commanded by the king, the dead tiger was taken in procession through the town and buried. A tomb was erected over it. So then the hunters followed the king's orders and took the tiger to the town in a procession, because it's dead now. And it was buried, and a beautiful tomb was erected on the tiger's grave. So a few days later, the Maharaja's son's third birthday was celebrated. Until then, the Maharaja had given his entire mind over to tiger hunting. He had no time to spare for the crown prince. But now the king turned his attention to the child. He wished to give him some special gift on his birthday. He went to the shopping center in Pratibandhapuram and searched every shop but couldn't find anything suitable. Finally, he spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop and decided it was the perfect gift. So what happened? After a few days, the Maharaja's son's third birthday was celebrated. Till that time, he had no time. He's been so engrossed in this tiger hunting and had never spent any time with his family or any other thing. Now, as he had fulfilled this vow of killing 100 tigers, he gave his attention to his child. So King Jangjang Bahadur wanted to give some special gift to his son on his birthday. So he went to the shopping center in Pratibandhapuram and he searched in every shop, but he could not find any suitable gift for his son. But finally he saw one wooden tiger in a toy shop and considered it to be the perfect gift for his son. The wooden tiger cost only 2 annas and a quarter. But the shopkeeper knew that if he quoted such a low price to the Maharaja, he would be punished under the rules of the emergency. So he said, "Your Majesty, this is an extremely rare example of craftsmanship, a bargain at 300 rupees. So what happened is, annas is actually the currency which was used in the olden days. 1 anna is equal to 1 by 16 rupee. So the wooden tiger cost only 2 and a quarter annas. But the shopkeeper knew that if he quoted such a low price to the king, he would punish him. So the shopkeeper simply told the king that the wooden tiger is a perfect example of craftsmanship and that it costed 300 rupees. "Very good. Let this be your offering to the crown prince on his birthday," said the king, and took it away with him. On that day, father and son played with a tiny little wooden tiger. It had been carved by an unskilled carpenter. Its surface was rough. Tiny slivers of wood stood up like quills all over it. One of those slivers pierced the Maharaja's right hand. He pulled it out with his left hand and continued to play with the prince. So what happened is, the sliver is actually the shavings. It was done by an unskilled carpenter, so the surface was not smooth. It was rough. So what happened? The king was very happy that he has got an apt gift for his son, and he started playing with his son with the tiger. He took the tiger with him and he said that this was the shop owner's gift to the crown prince, and he took the tiger with him. The tiger and his son played with the tiger, and the tiger had been made by an unskilled, I told you, by carpenter, as it had tiny shavings of wood pricking out of it like quills of a porcupine. So one of the shavings pierced the Maharaja's right hand. But the Maharaja pulled it out and continued to play with the prince. He didn't mind that time. But what happened? The next day, infection flared in the Maharaja's right hand. In 4 days, it developed into a suppurating sore, which spread all over the arm. So what happened is, suppurating is nothing but a full wound full of pus, and sore is painful inflammation. So what happened is, the next day there was a lot of infection in Maharaja's right hand due to that shaving of wood that had pricked his hand the previous day. So in a period of 4 days, the infection turned into a wound full of pus and spread all over the king's right arm. Three famous surgeons were brought in from Madras. After holding a consultation, they decided to operate. The operation took place. The 3 surgeons who performed it came out of the theatre and announced the operation was successful. The Maharaja is dead. In this manner, the 100th tiger took its final revenge upon the Tiger King. So what happened is the 3 famous surgeons were called from Madras and they decided to operate the king. After the operation, the surgeons came out of the theatre and said that the operation was successful and the Maharaja was dead. Here the surgeons' words are contradictory because if the king died, it meant the operation was unsuccessful, whereas they said that it was successful. Actually, they were supporting the words of the astrologer. The wooden tiger was the 100th tiger that had killed the king, because the actual tiger which the king shot down, the 100th tiger, didn't die actually. It was killed by a hunter. So this wooden tiger supposed to be the 100th tiger and it had killed the king as per the words of the astrologer. And thus the astrologer's prediction was made true. So in this manner, the 100th tiger took revenge upon the Tiger King and killed him. So it is a sarcastically they said that the operation was successful but the Maharaja was dead. Now let's sum up in detail what we have learnt. So the Maharaja of Pratibandhapuram is the hero of the story and he also came to be known as Tiger King. As soon as he was born, astrologers had foretold that one day the Tiger King would actually have to die. And a 10-day-old prince addressed the astrologers as, "O wise prophets." He asked them to tell them the manner of his death. The chief astrologer said that death would come from the tiger. The prince growled and he said, "Let tigers beware." But when the crown prince came to an age of 20, his state came into his hands. And there were many forests in Pratibandhapuram state. They had tigers in them. The Maharaja started out on a tiger hunt and the Maharaja was thrilled when he killed his first tiger. So he sent for the state astrologer and the old man said, "Your Majesty, you may kill 99 tigers in exactly and same manner, but you must be very careful with the 100th tiger." The astrologer promised to tear up all his books of astrology and set fire to them if he killed the 100th tiger. So the state banned tiger hunting by anyone except the Maharaja, and the Maharaja vowed that he would attend to all the other matters only after killing 100 tigers. So initially the king seemed well set to realize his ambition. He faced many dangers too. Sometimes the bullet missed its mark and the tiger jumped upon him and he fought the beast with his bare hands. Each time it was the Maharaja who won. So once he was in danger of losing his throne. Actually what happened is a high-ranking British officer visited Pratibandhapuram and he was very fond of hunting tigers. And he was a fonder of being photographed with the tigers he had shot. So he wished to hunt tigers in Pratibandhapuram. And the Maharaja was very firm in his resolution. He refused the permission and since he had prevented a British officer from fulfilling his desire, the Maharaja stood in danger of losing his kingdom. So the Maharaja and the Diwan held deliberations over this issue and about 50 expensive diamond rings of different designs were sent to the British officer's wife. So the king and the minister expected her to choose any 1 or 2 rings and send back the rest. But she kept all of them and sent a letter of thanks to the Maharaja. But the Maharaja was anyway happy that though he had lost 3 lakh of rupees, he had managed to retain his kingdom. So then the Maharaja's tiger hunt continued to be very highly successful and within 10 years he had killed 70 tigers. But then there were no tigers left in Pratibandhapuram. So one day the Maharaja sent for his Diwan and told him that 30 tigers still remained to be shot down by his gun. And he told the Diwan that he decided to get married. So the Diwan found the right girl from a state with a large number of tigers. So each time the Maharaja visited his father-in-law, he killed 5 or 6 tigers. So in this way, 99 tiger skins adorned the walls of the reception hall in the Pratibandhapuram palace. So there remained just 1 tiger to be killed to reach the figure of 100. But the tiger farms had now run dry even in his father-in-law's kingdom. It became impossible to locate the tigers anywhere. So the Maharaja was sunk in gloom. Soon he got a happy news that in his own state sheep began to disappear frequently from hillside village. So surely a tiger was at work. So the villagers ran to inform the Maharaja, but the tiger was not easily found. So the Maharaja refused to leave the forest until the tiger was found. And Maharaja's anger and obstinacy rose higher and many officers lost their jobs. So one day what happened? The Tiger King was very angry and he called the Diwan and ordered him to double the land tax forthwith. And the Diwan said that the people would become discontented. Then their state too would fall a prey to the Indian National Congress. So the king asked the Diwan to resign. So the Diwan felt afraid. He felt life returning to him only when he saw the tiger which he had brought from the People's Park in Madras and kept hidden in his house. So at midnight, the town was sleeping in peace and the Diwan and his aged wife dragged the old tiger to the car and showed it into the seat. And the Diwan himself drove the car straight to the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. Now the tiger refused to get out of the car. Somehow Diwan hauled the beast out of the car and pushed it down to the ground. On the following day, what happened? The same old tiger wandered into the Maharaja's presence and stood there. It was with boundless joy that Maharaja took careful aim at the beast. The tiger fell in a crumpled heap. The Maharaja was very happy that his vow to kill the 100 tigers had been fulfilled. And ordering the tiger to be brought to the capital in grand possession, he left in his car. But after the Maharaja left, the hunters went to take a close look at the tiger and found out that the tiger rolled its eyes and looked back at them. Then the man realized that the tiger was not dead. The bullet had missed. So he had fainted from the shock of the bullet whizzing past him. So one of the hunters took aim from a distance at 1 foot and shot the tiger. And this time the tiger was dead. And as per the words of the king, the tiger was taken in procession through the town and buried. So a few days later, what happened? The third birthday of the Maharaja's son was celebrated and he wished to give him some special gift on his birthday. So he spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop and decided it was the perfect gift. So the wooden tiger cost only 2 annas and a quarter, but the shopkeeper called it a bargain at 300 rupees and he praised it as an extremely rare example of craftsmanship. Actually, it had been carved by an unskilled carpenter and its surface was so rough and tiny slivers of wood stood up like quills all over it. And when the Maharaja was playing with his son, what happened is one of those slivers pierced Maharaja's right hand. And he pulled it out with his left hand and he continued to play with the prince. But the next day, infection flared in the Maharaja's right hand in 4 days and it developed into a sore-emitting pus. It spread all over his arm. So then 3 famous surgeons were brought in from Madras and after holding a consultation, they decided to operate. And the operation was successful, but the Maharaja died. So in this manner, the 100th tiger took its final revenge upon the Tiger King. So what is the irony behind this story? So the dramatic irony in the story is sharp when the Tiger King alone is unaware that his bullet had not killed a 100th tiger. And whereas the other characters were able to anticipate that the tiger was not killed. And another thing is, there was another irony in the story which is sharp. That is, when the surgeons announced the operation successful and declared that the king is dead. This is also quite ironical. So there are two situations which is ironical in the story. And what is the message we get from this story is, through this satirical story, the author has rightly portrayed how human beings have subjected innocent animals to untold torture and death merely to fulfill their own whims and fancies. So the Maharaja's indiscriminate killing of tigers had led to the extinction in some states, but the Maharaja was oblivious of the grave consequences his action was leading to. And the author strikes home the message that the ruler's primary duty should be the welfare of the citizens. And it also conveys that getting obsessed too much in winning over something and losing the control over oneself leads only to mishappening and upheavals. So the Tiger King's extreme urge to win over the prophecy led to his death. So I think you have all understood this lesson in detail. Have a great day, children. Thank you.